full effect.
Yeah. He's talking some trash to Durant as they're walking right in front of our table.
That split second sparked a war that nobody saw coming. But behind the scenes, sources suggest Edwards and Durant have been sitting on a secret simmering feud for months. And after rumors swirled about Durant making savage comments regarding Edwards' private life, Ant had no choice. He had to respond by going for the throat. Edwards is declaring open war on his idol. Anthony Edwards walked into the 2024 NBA playoffs with a single violent mission. He wasn't there just to win. He was there to destroy Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns. When the Minnesota Timberwolves collided with the Suns in the Western Conference first round, it wasn't just a game. It became the defining blood feud of the modern NBA. Here is the twisted irony. Edwards, at just 22 years old, had spent his entire existence worshiping the ground Kevin Durant walked on. He called Durant the greatest of all time, crediting the legend he watched since age 5 as the sole reason he touched a basketball. But admiration wasn't going to save Durant from the storm that was coming. Game 1 tipped off on April 20th, 2024. The Target Center was a pressure cooker, with 19,000 screaming fanatics demanding blood. Sensing the gravity of the moment, Edwards started slow, stalking his prey and testing Durant's defensive pressure. Durant, the 35-year-old assassin, wasn't backing down. He still possessed that lethal scoring touch that minted him a two-time champion. He took the assignment personally, locking up the young star. For the first half, it was a dogfight, with Phoenix hanging around, dangerous and within striking distance. Then the third quarter hit, and Anthony Edwards transformed into something absolutely terrifying. He went nuclear erupting for 18 points in a single period, methodically dissecting Durant and dismantling the Suns' defense piece by piece. The moment that would shatter their relationship forever came at the 3-minute and 37-second mark. Edwards isolated Durant on the wing. He hit him with a hesitation dribble, freezing the future Hall of Famer in quicksand. Step back, elevate, splash. A dagger three-pointer right over Durant's outstretched hand. The shot ripped through the net, extending Minnesota's lead to 16 points. Durant is scrambling to guard him. Edwards splits the double team like a hot knife through butter. Oh, mercy. Oh boy, Ant-Man has lost his mind. Yeah, he is letting him hear it. He is talking heavy trash to Durant right in front of the broadcast table. Watch Edwards backpedaling down the court. He isn't celebrating. He is staring a hole through Durant's soul. You didn't need to be an expert to read those lips. Leaked audio later confirmed the absolute disrespect. The words were too raw for television, but the message was clear. Edwards looked a legend in the eye and told him he was washed, old, and helpless to stop him. The arena exploded into Ant-Man chants as Edwards barked at the Phoenix bench like a pit bull. Durant just stood there grinning, shaking his head in a mix of disbelief and terrified respect. In a miracle of officiating, the refs let them play on. No technical fouls. They let the raw intensity breathe, refusing to interrupt the clash of generations. Edwards kept his foot on the gas, drawing fouls and burying shots. Even when Devin Booker fished for a soft foul call, the tension didn't break. Edwards spun on the officials, screaming at them, proving he feared no man and no whistle on that court. Durant finished with 31, but he couldn't stop the avalanche. The final buzzer sounded at 120-95, a complete and total demolition of the Suns. But the drama wasn't over. In the post-game press conference, Edwards dropped one of the most legendary quotes in playoff history. He spoke about Durant with the reverence of a fanboy, while simultaneously acknowledging he had just humiliated his hero on national television. Yeah, man. Did you see him in the third? It was crazy. I felt like we were supposed to be up 15 or 18 early in the third. And if I'm not mistaken, he made 4 or 5 straight buckets like it was nothing. And I became a fan at one point. I was out there like, God damn, he is nice. It's like there is literally nothing we can do. Edwards admitted that in the middle of the war, despite the vicious trash talk, he caught himself, turning into a fanboy mid-game as Durant rattled off 4 or 5 consecutive baskets. He called it one of the greatest feelings of his entire life, burying a 3 and talking trash to the very god he grew up worshiping. The duality was chilling. Edwards is simultaneously a cold-blooded killer and a starstruck kid, and that captured the imagination of the entire world. Durant tried to take the high road in his presser, brushing off the verbal assault as just basketball. He said, You get hot, you make shots, you're going to feel excited. Durant praised Edwards' energy, claiming he was impressed and loved everything about the kid's game. But was it mutual respect? Or was it a veteran realizing he just met the monster that replaced him? The highlight video detonated across social media, racking up over 6 million views on YouTube alone. Reddit threads turned into crime scene investigations, with users analyzing every frame to decipher the exact venom Edwards spit. One comment summed it up perfectly. Hitting a dagger 3 and trash-talking your favorite player? That is a new level of achievement unlocked. That post hit 47,000 upvotes on the NBA subreddit, cementing this as the most discussed moment of the year. Media outlets labeled the performance cold-blooded murder and began asking the real question. Is the king dead? Was this just another playoff series? Or were we witnessing a violent coup in the NBA hierarchy? The question wasn't if the torch was being passed, it was whether Anthony Edwards was ripping it from Kevin Durant's cold, defeated hands. The league office stayed silent, no fines, no suspensions, but make no mistake, the message was loud and clear. A new sheriff was in town, and he wasn't asking for anyone's permission. Edwards wasn't just playing basketball, he was headhunting. Fearless, ferocious, and completely unbothered by nostalgia, he was on a mission to dismantle his own idol piece by piece until the world acknowledged his arrival. Minnesota didn't just win games 2 and 3. They strangled the life out of Phoenix, building a suffocating 3-0 series lead that felt less like a competition and more like a coronation. The numbers were staggering, Edwards averaging 31 a night to Durant's 26.8, but the box score lied. It couldn't measure the sheer force of will shifting from one legend to the next. This was a total eclipse. Edwards dominated every inch of the floor, locking Durant down on defense and torching him on offense, breaking the Slim Reaper psychologically until there was nothing left but frustration. April 28th, 2024. The Footprint Center. The air was thick with tension, the smell of desperation hanging over a Phoenix crowd, praying for a miracle that wasn't coming. Durant knew the clock was ticking not just on the season, but on his legacy. Phoenix came out swinging, fighting like cornered animals, desperate to keep their championship dreams from turning into a nightmare. KD emptied the tank, pouring in 33 points with vintage efficiency. But every time he landed a blow, Edwards was right there to return fire, matching him bucket for bucket. The young wolf went nuclear. 40 points, 7 of 13 from deep, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. It was a statistical avalanche that buried any hope the Suns had of surviving the night. Then came the moment that stopped the world. 2 minutes and 18 seconds left in the fourth. The game and perhaps an entire era hung in the balance. Edwards ripped baseline, a blur of speed and power. Durant and Bradley Beal collapsed on him, a wall of defenders thinking they had the angle to shut him down. They were dead wrong. Edwards didn't go around them. He went through them. He launched himself into the stratosphere, cocking the ball back and detonating a poster dunk so violent it nearly tore the rim off, right over Durant's head. 18,000 people in the Footprint Center went dead silent, their collective breaths snatched away in total disbelief. Boos tried to surface but drowned in pure shock. The refs went to the monitor, desperate to find a flaw, but the verdict was clear. Clean play. Legal homicide on the hardwood. No whistle blew because you can't call a foul on gravity. Edwards had simply overpowered 2 grown men with a level of athletic freakishness that defied the laws of physics. He stomped away with that signature Atlanta swagger, barking at the Minnesota bench, chest out, while Durant was left peeling himself off the floor, a fallen king in the shadow of the usurper. The final buzzer sounded 122-116. A 4-0 sweep, merciless, complete. The Suns were sent packing in the first round, their season extinguished in humiliating fashion. Edwards didn't just win a series, he committed legacy theft. He had eliminated his childhood hero, not with a handshake, but with a highlight reel that would play on loops for eternity. When the footage surfaced later in a Netflix documentary, the mask came off. No false modesty, just raw, unfiltered arrogance. Edwards looked dead into the camera, reliving the kill. I did that to KD. I'm the greatest. It wasn't bragging if you just backed it up in front of millions. He revealed the twisted respect behind the brutality. Durant had taken the challenge personally, trying to guard the young star one-on-one. That made the conquest taste so much sweeter. Edwards smiled, genuinely thrilled that KD didn't run from the smoke. He wanted the king at his best so he could beat him at his best. No shortcuts. The internet melted down. Comments flooded every highlight video, fans losing their minds. MJ is back, one wrote, sensing the return of that killer instinct the league had been missing. Another comment summed it up perfectly. I came, I saw, I conquered. It was nasty, it was disrespectful, it was absolutely legendary. The media narrative shifted overnight. The torch wasn't passed politely, it was snatched. The old guard was officially on notice. The throne had been seized. Even with the Olympics looming, Edwards couldn't resist one last jab. I'm excited to play with him this summer, he told reporters, a grin playing on his lips. Talk a little trash. Let him know I sent him home. That mix of reverence and ruthlessness became the defining signature of the Edwards-Durant saga. He idolized Durant, sure, but on the court, love didn't exist. There was only the prey, and Edwards refused to let sentimentality stop him from destroying the man he looked up to. To his credit, Durant took the beating like a statesman. No outbursts, no drama, just the stoic acceptance of a veteran who knows when he's been bested. He doubled down on his praise, telling the world he loved everything about Ant. It was a move that ironically elevated Durant, showing a level of grace that was almost as impressive as Edwards' game. Instead of bitterness or excuses, we saw a legend tipping his cap to the future, acknowledging the inevitable time when the student finally becomes the master. But in the Suns front office, grace didn't matter. Panic set in. The sweep triggered an existential crisis about how this roster was built. Was the Durant experiment a failure? Had Phoenix mortgaged their entire future for a championship window that had just been slammed shut by a 22-year-old? While Phoenix burned, Edwards soared. His confidence hit stratospheric levels, an untouchable aura surrounding him as he prepared for the global stage. He rolled into the 2024 Olympics not just as a participant, but as the main event, the most hyped American baller on the planet, ready to prove the takeover was global. Social media became a battlefield of memes, the most viral one showing Edwards literally committing a robbery, snatching the torch from Durant's hands like a thief in the night. Others were crueler, showing Durant aging in fast forward every time Edwards dunked. The internet had spoken. A new king was crowned, and the old gods were forced to watch. Durant was getting elbowed into the past, fighting to stay relevant in a league that was quickly forgetting his dominance. The 2024-25 season didn't cool things down, it poured gasoline on the fire. Every matchup became a referendum on who really owned the court. Minnesota didn't just win, they owned them. Another 4-0 drubbing, extending the Timberwolves' winning streak against Durant's squads to 7 straight games. Complete psychological ownership. The rivalry grew toxic, fueled by Edwards' increasingly brazen trash talk. He was chirping louder, bolder, while Durant scrambled to salvage whatever dignity remained in the face of the onslaught. Then came March 3rd, 2025, another chapter written in blood and sweat, Target Center, Minneapolis. The Wolves hosted the Suns, and Edwards decided to put on a masterclass that would make the history books weep. He dropped over 30 heads, drained 5 triples, and notched his 10th game of the season with those stats, a franchise record. The torch wasn't just passed. Edwards had used it to set the entire league on fire. Forget the box score. The stats were just a cover-up for the real war happening on the floor. Anthony Edwards didn't just play defense. He launched a full-scale verbal assault on Durant's legacy. The moment Edwards drained a contested jumper right in the legend's face, he spun around, eyes blazing, and unleashed a message that wasn't just trash talk, it was an indictment. KD. Hey, KD! You can't guard me! The disrespect was loud, it was raw, and it cut deep because everyone in the arena knew Edwards was exposing a brutal truth. Durant has been called many things, but a lockdown defender isn't one of them, and Edwards was ruthlessly picking apart the seams of his game, play after humiliating play. The Minnesota crowd at the Target Center went absolutely nuclear, feeding off the energy, realizing that Edwards wasn't just competing, he was executing high-level psychological warfare. Durant tried to laugh it off, flashing that signature unbothered grin, but don't let the smile fool you, the hierarchy of the league was shifting right before our eyes. In every single head-to-head clash, Edwards was the alpha, dominating the narrative and leaving Durant searching for answers that didn't exist. No amount of veteran poise could hide the scoreboard, and when the buzzer sounded, Edwards didn't let up. He dragged the battle into the post-game press conference. He threw a little shade, admitting he felt like a fan watching Durant hit shots, but then he pivoted, sharpening the knife for the kill shot. Yeah, sure, we destroyed him though, he smirked. It was cold, it was calculated, and the headlines wrote themselves immediately. Edwards has absolutely zero chill. But then came March 30th, 2025, and this mental chess match turned into a violent physical collision. The Timberwolves rolled into Phoenix, looking for another scalp in the regular season, anticipating just another night of buckets and banter. The atmosphere was electric but controlled until the clock ticked down to 2 minutes and 43 seconds in the first quarter, then chaos struck. It started with a scramble. Edwards was hunting a long outlet pass, accelerating like a freight train, while Durant swung around, trying to box out in the paint. Asterisk, bam. Asterisk, Durant's elbow smashed directly into the bridge of Edwards' nose with sickening force. The young superstar crumbled to the hardwood instantly, clutching his face as trainers sprinted from the bench. When he pulled the towel away, it was stained crimson. Blood was flowing, and for a second, the air got sucked out of the entire building. Wait. This was enemy territory, the Footprint Center in Phoenix, but even the Suns fans stopped their jeering. The booze-fueled noise replaced by a hush of genuine concern. Security and medical staff escorted Edwards to the tunnel, his head down, leaving thousands wondering if the night was over for the face of the franchise. The broadcast team scrambled to fill the silence. Edwards is heading back. Folks, facial contusions in this league are nasty business. We've seen careers alter on plays like that. The referees went to the monitor. Frame by frame, they analyzed the violence. The ruling? Accidental contact. Just two giants colliding at full velocity. No flagrant, no ejection, just a common personal foul on Durant, his first of the night, despite the carnage left on the floor. The replay confirmed the official's call. Durant hadn't headhunted him. There was no malice, just the brutal reality of physics when elite athletes crash. But you can't keep a wolf down. Second quarter, the tunnel stirred. Edwards emerged, eyes swelling shut, nose battered, looking like a prize fighter entering the late rounds. The diagnosis was a nasal contusion, but Edwards waved off the pain. Sit out? Not a chance. Not against Durant. He didn't just return, he went on a rampage, dropping 20 points with a broken face, powering Minnesota to a 124-109 beatdown over the Suns. Post-game, Edwards was pure grit. He shrugged off the injury like it was a mosquito bite. Nasal contusion? Please, I'm good. Durant kept his mouth shut about the collision, hoping the news cycle would move on, but the internet never forgets, and it certainly never forgives. Social media exploded. YouTube thumbnails screamed KDK knocks out Ant, racking up hundreds of thousands of views within hours. The narrative twisted darkly. Fans started joking that the only way Durant could stop Edwards was by physically taking him out of the equation. Conspiracy theories ran wild. Was it really an accident? Or was it a message? Everyone wondered if Edwards would come looking for blood in the next matchup. International outlets like the Times of India even picked up the story, questioning Edwards' durability, but the young star had already proven those concerns were dead wrong. That elbow to the face didn't end the rivalry, it poured gasoline on it. Now there was a physical scar to match the emotional damage. Edwards had already won the war of words in the box score, but Durant was the one who drew first blood, literally. While the officials called it an accident, the image of a bloodied Edwards served as a grim reminder. The NBA is a contact sport and the paint is a war zone. But the drama wasn't contained to the hardwood anymore. The feud went digital, spiraling into a global spectacle. Social media became the new battleground, a coliseum where Edwards and Durant traded shots in front of an audience of millions. Edwards, never shy, doubled down on his disrespect, claiming his jump shot was superior to Durant's, a blasphemous claim against one of the greatest scorers in history. That was the breaking point. Durant didn't just respond, he went nuclear, launching a counterattack that got deeply personal and instantly viral. The clapback was savage. Durant allegedly replied to the shooting comments with a venomous twist. Yeah, you're a shooter all right, just not on the court. He went for the jugular, typing, "You're a shooter with 4 different women. That's why you've got 4 kids." The roast hit like a bomb. Durant was dragging unverified but loud rumors about Edwards' private family life into the public square. At just 22 or 23 years old, the rumors of Edwards fathering children with multiple partners were his one vulnerable spot. Durant exploited that weakness ruthlessly, shifting the beef from basketball skills to life choices, leaving Edwards with no defense against the sudden character assassination. Another exchange saw Durant mocking the young star. essentially telling him, "You've got 4 child support cases at age 22. Worry about that." The internet crowned a winner immediately. Fans celebrated the sheer savagery. KD finally got a dub! One post celebrating the roast hit 16,000 likes in minutes. The verdict was brutal but undeniable. Anthony Edwards owned the hardwood, physically dismantling a legend. But the digital realm? That battlefield belonged entirely to Kevin Durant. It got so bad that Edwards allegedly waved the white flag, begging Durant to cease fire on social media, a desperate plea to stop the bleeding in a losing online war. Durant's counterstrike was absolute ice-cold savagery. Get better first. 3 words that hit harder than a dagger three-pointer, carrying a terrifying implication. The message was loud and clear. You want the trolling to stop? Earn it. Win a ring. Until then, you are just another target in the sniper's crosshairs. This wasn't just trash talk anymore. It was personal, vicious, and cutting deep enough to make the entire sports world wince in collective discomfort. While purists screamed about lines being crossed and families being off limits, the internet mob couldn't get enough, feasting on every toxic post spreading like wildfire across Instagram and Twitter. This feud had mutated into something bigger than basketball. It was a reality show with millions of eyeballs glued to the screen, waiting for the next explosion in a saga that blurred the line between sport and spectacle. But here is the dark twist that keeps everyone guessing. Analysts started noticing that the most bloodthirsty exchanges might be total fabrications engineered strictly for chaos. The NBA meme economy is a monster that feeds on fake quotes, and the Edwards-Durant war was the perfect fuel, a toxic playground where truth didn't matter as long as it generated heat. The lines blurred until nobody knew what was real, and what was manufactured drama, and the sick part, the engagement metrics proved nobody gave a damn about the truth as long as the content was entertaining. Through the storm, Edwards played it cool, maintaining a public mask of admiration. "Got to love KD," he would say, flashing a smile right after taking a public beating. It was a mind-bending dynamic, a twisted mix of genuine mentorship buried under layers of lethal competition and relentless digital warfare. But just when you thought the dust settled, Durant struck back, forcing the rivalry to evolve into something even more unpredictable. Fast forward to January 2026. The calendar flipped, and with it, a volatile new chapter in the Edwards-Durant saga began to unfold. Durant had abandoned the sinking ship in Phoenix, taking his talents to the Houston Rockets in a desperate bid to reinvent his legacy alongside a new core of young killers. That trade was a surrender flag, an admission that Phoenix's title window had been slammed shut, largely because Edwards and his Wolfpack had hunted them down and destroyed them repeatedly. January 16th, 2026. The date was circled in red. The first time the Slim Reaper would face his tormentors in that new Houston uniform. The stage was set at the Toyota Center. Tension thick in the air, but the main event hit a snag. Edwards was scratched, sidelined by a nagging foot injury that kept the Alpha Wolf in street clothes. No on-court bloodbath this time. Instead, the universe offered up a bizarre twist, a chance for the cameras to capture the strange warmth hidden behind the hate. Without his nemesis guarding him, Durant went nuclear. He unleashed a scoring masterclass, dropping a season-high 39 points and torching the net with 6 triples, going toe-to-toe with Julius Randle in a heavyweight bout. When the final buzzer sounded, the scoreboard told the story: Rockets 110, Timberwolves 105. Durant had finally exorcised his demons, snapping the humiliating losing streak against Minnesota, though critics whispered it didn't count without Edwards on the floor. But the viral moment wasn't a dunk. During a clock malfunction at the 5:52 mark of the third, the cameras zoomed in to catch the impossible. Edwards and Durant cracking up on the sideline. Lip readers caught the vibe. Edwards chirping, "Come on, gang, I was waiting on you." Durant fired back instantly, roasting Minnesota's frozen wasteland of a climate. Edwards didn't back down, allegedly hitting KD with the ultimate playground disrespect, calling him ashy, hinting the legend needed some serious lotion. It was a fleeting glimpse behind the curtain, proving that beneath the venom and the headlines, there is a weird, genuine brotherhood between the rising star and the aging god. For a brief moment, the media cycle shifted, obsessing over the mutual respect that somehow survives inside the pressure cooker of their rivalry. Fans hailed Durant's vintage performance, but the question hung in the air like a dark cloud. Would the result have flipped if a healthy Edwards was there to lock him down? It was a rare W for Durant against the Wolves, but let's be real, the absence of Edwards placed a massive asterisk next to that victory in the history books. But just as the vibes turned positive, an incident exploded out of nowhere, threatening to nuke whatever goodwill was left between them. Late 2025. A viral screenshot surfaces involving Bronny James and his girlfriend Parker Whitfield, and it looked like Edwards decided to play life coach. Edwards supposedly commented, "Bronny, you are lucky to have her. It is time to build your own family." Unsolicited? Yes. But it seemed like genuine big brother wisdom directed at the Lakers rookie until the response came. Then Durant entered the chat with a flamethrower. His alleged response was pure destruction. Telling someone to start a family while you left yours is diabolical. Even the typo in the text couldn't blunt the impact. If anything, the raw, unedited nature of the comment just poured gasoline on the meme fire. The accusation was nuclear. Durant was allegedly calling out Edwards for abandoning his own blood while preaching family values to a rookie. It hit a nerve. The hypocrisy angle resonated with every fan who had been whispering about the rumors surrounding Edwards' private life, and the post detonated across the web. A single post from Basketball Graphico racked up 878,000 views, flooded with crying emojis and skulls as fans processed the savagery. On X, formerly Twitter, Hoopses saw their repost rocket past 1.6 million views, clocking 18,000 likes as the internet lost its collective mind. This wasn't just a comment. It became the defining social media clapback of the year, overshadowing everything happening on the actual basketball court. The timeline was a war zone. Half the fans were dying of laughter at the cruelty, while the other half stood in shock, wondering if KD had finally gone too far. One user summed it up perfectly. Durant wasn't just trash talking, he was telling Edwards to keep his mouth shut about family matters until he learned how to handle his own. One fan went straight for the jugular, joking that Edwards has already built an entire starting lineup of kids with different women, while Durant just sat there, sniping from the sidelines like a bitter ghost of the past. The backlash was instant and brutal. Fans claimed they lost all respect for Edwards, demanding to know who he thinks he is to tell Bronny James how to start a family when his own house is barely in order. But then the plot twisted. While KD supporters screamed that the legend wasn't lying, a different army rose up to defend Edwards, claiming the entire screenshot was nothing but a digital fabrication. Welcome to the dark side of NBA meme culture. TikTok exploded with videos mocking Edwards' so-called wisdom, captioning clips with the burning question, does the young star even have his own life together? But when you peel back the layers and actually investigate the exchange, red flags start popping up everywhere, screaming that we might all be getting played. We dug deep, and guess what? No original post exists on Edwards' verified Instagram, and Durant's famous burner-style Twitter account, AKDTrey5, shows zero trace of these exact quotes. The graphic circulating online looked just a little too polished, a little too clean. It screamed manufactured meme designed to trigger outrage rather than a genuine, messy social media brawl. It smelled like a setup. Not a single major sports outlet, not ESPN, not The Ringer, touched the story as a confirmed incident, leaving a massive question mark hanging over the entire internet. Instead, the media kept their distance, sticking to safe, tangential discussions about the general rivalry, while the underground rumor mill spun out of control. Remember, Edwards has gone on record saying he avoids social media specifically to dodge this exact kind of circus, making the idea of him starting a flame war feel even more suspicious. So why did we all buy it? Because the exchange felt real. It aligned perfectly with the narrative we crave, the fearless young wolf challenging the old lion. It fit the script too well. Edwards firing off bold, reckless takes, and Durant clapping back with thin-skinned personal attacks. The perfection of the drama was the biggest clue that it was fake. But here is the scary part. Authenticity didn't matter. The meme achieved its dark purpose, blurring the lines between reality and fiction until the truth was buried. It racked up millions of views in hours, sparking heated debates about hypocrisy and boundaries, adding yet another volatile chapter to the Edwards-Durant mythology that the fans can't get enough of. The silence from the other side was deafening. Bronny James and the entire LeBron inner circle never said a word, an incredibly rare move for a camp that usually shuts down fake drama instantly. This wasn't just about basketball anymore. The cultural fallout rippled outward, exposing the toxic underbelly of NBA fandom where character assassination is just a sport. It proved a terrifying rule of the internet age. Fake beef travels at the speed of light while the truth is still tying its shoes. and engagement algorithms reward the bloodiest attacks. Suddenly, Edwards' multi-million-dollar endorsement deals were under the microscope, with brands nervously wondering if his unfiltered, raw personality was becoming a liability they couldn't control. Yet, through all the noise, the tweets, and the drama, the fundamental dynamic of the league remained cold and unchanged. Edwards continued to absolutely dominate Durant on the hardwood, physically bullying him, while Durant was reduced to scoring occasional petty victories in the comment sections. The numbers paint a brutal picture. The Timberwolves have held a crushing 7-1 record against Durant's squad since 2024, including a humiliating playoff sweep that sent shockwaves through the league. No amount of clever Instagram clapbacks or Twitter fingers can erase that statistical reality. Durant is getting washed where it actually counts. And the mind games continue. Edwards keeps publicly professing his love and respect for Durant, even as he ruthlessly takes his crown. It is a paradox that defines modern NBA relationships. It is a strange, twisted world where players can genuinely worship their opponents as idols while simultaneously trying to destroy their legacies and dance on their graves. Make no mistake, Edwards grew up studying Durant's game like a religion. To this day, he considers KD the greatest player he has ever watched with his own eyes. But that admiration is a weapon. It coexists with the cold knowledge that to become the face of the league, he can't just beat Durant, he has to humiliate him repeatedly. Durant sees the writing on the wall. Approaching his late 30s, he is staring down the barrel of athletic mortality, fighting against the dying of the light. The trade to the Rockets was a Hail Mary, one final, desperate attempt to chase a championship ring, but Edwards and his generation are standing at the gate, ready to slam it shut. Durant's social media savagery is a defense mechanism. It provides a psychological victory, a way to feel powerful when his physical dominance is slipping away game by game. If he can't beat Edwards with a basketball anymore, he is determined to at least wound him with words, leaving scars that the scoreboard can't fix. As 2026 rolls on, this rivalry shows zero signs of cooling down. If anything, the temperature is rising to a boiling point. Edwards' swagger grows more dangerous with every win, while Durant's motivation to prove the doubters wrong turns into a dark, intense obsession with every loss. Their next meeting promises fireworks, more trash talk, more viral moments, and more fuel for the most entertaining, explosive feud in the entire NBA. Whether the online exchanges are real or manufactured, organic or calculated, it doesn't matter. The Edwards-Durant rivalry has captured the soul of modern professional sports. The competition has bled far beyond the court, spilling into social media, press conferences, and the collective imagination of millions of fans who are addicted to the drama. You can look at the points, the rebounds, the wins and losses, but those numbers only tell a fraction of the story. They don't capture the hate. To understand the full narrative, you have to look at the psychological warfare, the personal attacks, and the strange, genuine affection hiding beneath layers of hostility. Anthony Edwards attacks Kevin Durant because that is the law of the jungle. That is what rising stars do to falling legends to take their spot at the top. And Durant fights back with everything he has left because champions, true champions, never surrender quietly into the night. Together, they have created the defining rivalry of their era. A clash of egos and talent that will be discussed, debated, and dissected in barbershops for decades to come. The only certainty in this chaos is that more confrontations await. The war is far from over. More viral moments will emerge, and more blood will be spilled in the ongoing saga of the young king coming for the aging emperor's head. The entire basketball world watches with bated breath as Edwards and Durant prepare for their next encounter. Every single game between them now carries a weight far heavier than the scoreboard. This is no longer just a game. It represents a generational clash, a savage battle for legacy, and a deeply personal rivalry that neither man can walk away from until one is broken. Edwards has made his intentions crystal clear to the world. He will not stop, he will not rest until he has surpassed every single accomplishment Durant ever achieved and left him in the dust. That 4-game playoff sweep, that wasn't just a win, that was a violent changing of the guard, a warning shot heard around the entire basketball world. The savage trash talk, the soul-crushing poster dunks, the petty social media warfare, none of it is accidental. It is a hostile takeover designed to crown Anthony Edwards as the undisputed king of the NBA. But do not make the mistake of counting out Kevin Durant. The Slim Reaper refuses to become a footnote in someone else's legacy. His shock move to Houston proves he is not looking for a retirement home, he is hunting for blood. Is he chasing one last ring or just looking to remind the world who he is? Dropping a 39-point masterpiece against Minnesota sent a clear message. The body might be older, but the killer instinct is colder than ever. This is bigger than a game. This is personal. It is the brutal, unending cycle of the sport playing out in front of our eyes. It is the hungry young wolf trying to tear the crown off the aging lion, a legend fighting for his life while a prodigy tries to end his career live on national television. Jordan had to bleed against Isia. LeBron went to war with Pierce. And now, Anthony Edwards has locked his sights on Kevin Durant. We are standing on the edge of the next great chapter. And if history is any guide, the drama is about to get significantly more volatile. The story is far from over. Click the card on your screen right now. You do not want to miss what happens next.